Hello YouTube and welcome to another video. In this one I'm going to be doing some more work to the supercharger manifold for the Kawasaki 650. In the last video I did my first welds on it and built a baffle for the inside. In this video I'm hoping to be able to weld the feed into place as well as weld the inner water jacket into place. If we're really lucky, this thing might even look like a manifold by the end of this video. With that being said, there are some fiddly cuts and measurements that I have to make. The fitment of this stuff is fairly important because it's all going to be welded into place with fair precision. And also, if I weld something in place and then can't get to another weld that I need to do, that's obviously going to be a problem. So I'm going to have to think this through very carefully and take my time. It'd be really nice if this just worked out, but I think this piece is not going to be nearly long enough. Yeah. I made this piece this length thinking that the angle of this plate was going to be much steeper. And I know you guys probably can't see, but that's going to there, and the cut that I would have to make is here. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do. See, this is what I was talking about. Why it's probably going to go a lot slower than I thought. I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time stressing or thinking about it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that piece out, and then I'm going to figure out how to take care of the fitment issue. The next part of the problem is trying to figure out how to actually bolt this manifold in place. I already know what I'm going to do for 6 of the holes, but the last 2, which will be here and here, the dowel is going to have to pierce through the water jacket. And in order to make sure that the water from the water jacket doesn't come into the engine, I need to make sure that I weld all the way around here. So I have to do some thinking. And this is a pretty big step, so I'm honestly pretty worried about this. All right, I wasn't happy with that last plate, so I made another one, and the fitment is much better. Took my time, thought it out a little bit more, and that's going to fit a whole lot better. I don't remember exactly where I left off. I've been shaping some pieces, fine-tuning some things, and trying to decide what to do next. And I've decided what I'm going to do is machine off the top of this surface so that it is nice and flat. And then I'm going to make it so that the supercharger can mount to the top of this. And the reason why I want to do that is because I need to be 100% sure that the supercharger is actually going to bolt into place before I start adding stuff on that could get in the way of the supercharger. Because the supercharger manifold isn't much good if the supercharger can't mount to it. This whole kind of spot is going to be cut out. I'm basically just trying to figure out now where I should cut. Just cut straight along there with the jigsaw. Same thing here. Straight along there with the jigsaw. Anyway, I think I'm going to do another small redesign of the manifold. Currently, supercharger sits like this, and when I bolt it down, it's only going to be up against this thin metal, which I knew, and what I was going to do is reinforce here. But it doesn't really make sense to reinforce here and just have all this material doing nothing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that out. I think I mentioned earlier that once I punch the holes out to put the dowels in, I'm not going to be able to get at the back of them to weld them, and this will take care of that problem. So I got that piece machined out. I ended up pulling a bit of a bonehead move. I just decided once I got to this corner I was going to shoot across, and I ended up cutting a couple of thousandths too deep. But it won't be a problem. I can easily fill that gap in, but it was stupid and it was careless. So yeah, this piece is going to go like that. And it will be a heck of a lot easier to weld in now. Alright, I'm having a real struggle with this. For some reason it just doesn't want to work for me. Quite possibly the worst weld ever done in human history right there. And it's not finished yet. I'm gonna have to grind most of that out and redo it. I didn't want to bore you guys with hours worth of welding, so I did a bunch of it off camera. The bead along the top went fairly well, but I struggled with the beads on the bottom and the beads in the corners. The one on this side actually went pretty well, but yeah, this one took me forever, and it still doesn't look nice. My welder is having a really hard time to focus the arc. I don't know if it's me or if it's something to do with the welder. After a little bit of bending and more cutting and tweaking, I've made it so that this piece will fit in there nice, and I won't have to do a whole lot of filling, so that should weld up pretty nice. I tried tacking it in place here once already. It was a bit of a nightmare, so I'm going to start here and try to work my way around. For some reason, I struggle a lot with tacks. Would be even better if I grounded it. It didn't just give myself a wicked shock. Why won't you stick together? Alright, that went quite well once I got rolling. I'm not sure if that's going to be the end of the video, but that's all that I'm doing today. I've only had 2 cookies and a little bit of water to get me through the day, and it is currently after midnight. I'm going to be honest with you guys, every single weld that I did today turned out to be a struggle. I'm not sure exactly why that was, but it had something to do with the fact that I was in a bit of a bad mood and I just tried to struggle through and make it work, and that just ended up making things worse. Despite that, I was able to make quite a bit of progress. I got the water jacket welded into place as well as the feed tube, so that part of it is done. That goes this way. Nice. Very nice. All right, people. A shout out to this guy here for making that video, because turns out all of the struggles I was having yesterday was due to some very bad habits that I had formed. I wasn't taking care of my tungsten nearly enough, and yeah, it didn't pay off for me. Something that probably should have only taken me a few minutes yesterday took me several hours because I had very poor torch hygiene. I'm gonna try to improve that. This is all going to be machined away, and because it's going to get machined away, I want to put a lot of heat down into it, so yeah, I'm kind of overdoing it a little bit on purpose. Alright, I got a short enough piece of tungsten that I can use my short back cap. Still a little bit tight for my beginner skills, but I think I can make it happen. Am I grounded? Yes. Wow, that was easy. I'm really pleased with that weld. It went extraordinarily well. The welds that I was doing yesterday were miserable and took forever. I've now got to machine these welds down flat and then cut some holes out, because this sits on here like this, and the bolts for the supercharger have to come through here. There we have it. I have the slots cut out so that the supercharger has some movement. And now I need to figure out what I'm going to do next, I guess. Oh, I know what to do. I just had a genius idea. All I need to do is get a couple of parallels and put them under here. Now I just need to push down on that, tighten up the vise. The most important or trickiest one is going to be this one, because it has to go through a long piece of metal and come out in the center. If it doesn't come out fairly centered, then well, I've basically ruined my manifold. The 5/16 is actually the size of the hole that they use in the plastic manifold. If they can get away with it in plastic, then it's got to be okay for aluminum. Let's stop talking and let's stop talking and do this. Alright YouTube, now is the scary moment of truth where I flip this thing over and see if the holes came out in what looks like the right place. Well, there you have it. That looks fairly centered. Now I need to machine a flat part on that, but before I do that, I'm going to do this side off camera because, yeah, takes a lot of concentration and you guys don't need to see it done all over again. I've now got the holes all milled out and drilled out in the manifold where they need to be, and now I'm going to mill out a flat surface on this area so that the head of the bolt has a place to sit. I'm going to remove as little material as possible because the more I take off here, the harder it is going to be to shape the inner piece and to weld. So all right. I don't know about you guys, but I am pretty pleased with that. Hopefully you guys can see where I'm going with this now. The bolt holes that I made here are to hold the manifold on. This area is going to get drilled out to 1/2 inch so that I can use some of this stuff to poke through there. And then I will use some bolts that are the same length as these ones to go through. I will then be making a piece of aluminum that gets welded on like that. And this will guide the air from the supercharger into the engine. And then the complicated bit is going to be trying to figure out how to get a water jacket on the back side of this. So the water feed is here. I need to drill a hole into that feeds a water jacket on the back side of this, but it won't actually fill with water unless the air can go out. It has to flow in and out. So the water will come in through here, and my idea as of now is to actually have the water jacket come all the way up to the top and then run another piece of dowel along here. So drill a 1/2 inch hole and run a piece of dowel into there with a hole in it, and have it so that the water actually flows out through the feed, into the water jacket, up through the water jacket, and then back in through this and the exit for the water back to the engine for both the inner water jacket and the outer water jacket will be in this corner here. That will then probably feed the exhaust elbow. One more thing that I need to mention that I don't know if I clarified or how good of an explanation I gave, but the supercharger is going to be mounted to this plate. It's going to be bolted to this plate exactly how it is. So the supercharger is bolted on to that plate, as we can see. And then this plate is going to get bolted down to the manifold. So there will be probably 3 or 4 bolts that go down here, and then 3 or 4 that go down through here. And then I will have one here, one here, one here, one in the back. And then if I can, I'm going to try to figure out a way to make one bolt that goes up through the center here. And that'll just be to help it seal so that I don't have boost pressure blowing out between these joints. Regardless of how good my fitment is and how confident I am that this is going to seal, I'm definitely going to have to use a really good sealant like probably Permatex Right Stuff. It seals fairly large gaps really well, and it's really strong stuff, so that's probably what I'll use. The reason why I'm worried about a boost leak is because this is a suck-through system. With a blow-through system, if you have a boost leak, all you're leaking is pressurized air, which isn't a big deal. On a suck-through system, if you have a boost leak, you are leaking pressurized fuel and air. And on a jet ski, you're doing that inside of a hull, which I don't think I need to tell you why that is a very big problem. Anyway, we will take care of that in the future. I'm excited about the next video because this thing is going to actually end up looking like a manifold. The next piece that I actually put on this thing will be closing it up and making it look like the real deal. That is going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.